Just with the delegation.
Good. We're streaming. Yeah, okay.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the regularly scheduled Town of Tabor Council meeting for September 23rd, 2019. If I could call the meeting to order, please, and ask for an adoption of the agenda.
Your Worship, there is an item that administration would like to add to the agenda. You've been handed that out.
All right, I believe that was a closed session requirement. Item number 4.
Yes, sir.
All right, Councilor Tams.
Yes, and I move we adopt the agenda as amended, adding item 9.4 to closed session.
All right, thank you. A motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item number 3, adoption of the minutes. Item 3.1, minutes of special meeting of council September 3rd, 2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, a number of meeting minutes for the consideration of council to adopt tonight. The first one, September the 3rd, that's from the special council meeting when the outside agencies came in to present their money requests for the following 3-year budgets.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Councilor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion. The council adopts the minutes of the special meeting of council held on September the 3rd, 2019, as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.2, minutes of public hearing meeting of council September 9th, 2019, bylaw 3-2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, there was 3 public hearings that evening. This is the first one from September the 9th for your consideration.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the public hearing meeting of council held on September 9th, 2019 for bylaw 3-2019 as presented.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.3, minutes of the public hearing meeting of council September 9th, 2019, bylaw 13-2019. Mr. Armfield.
For council's consideration.
All right. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Firth.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council adopts the minutes of the public hearing meeting of council held on September 9th, 2019 for bylaw 13. Oh, no. Am I one behind?
That's where we're at, yep.
Bylaw 13-2019, correct?
13-2019? Yep. Okay. Sorry, I thought I was one behind.
All right.
As presented.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.4, minutes of the public hearing meeting of council September 9th, 2019, bylaw 17-2019. Mr. Armfield.
For council's consideration.
All right. Any questions arising? Councilor Tams.
Well, I'm prepared to make a motion, Mr. Mayor. Council adopts the minutes of the public hearing meeting of council held on September 9th, 2019 for bylaws 17-2019 as presented.
All right. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 3.5, minutes of regular council meeting September 9th, 2019. Mr. Armfield.
And these are the regular council meeting minutes from that date.
All right. Thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Garner.
And make a motion, Mr. Mayor, that council adopts the minutes of the regular meeting of council held on September 9th, 2019 as presented.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Item 4, no business arising from the minutes. Item 5, bylaws. Item 5.1, assessment review board bylaw 20-2019. Mr. Armfield.
Yeah, I'm going to ask Mr. Orwa to come up and present this one. Ultimately, this stems from the change in the approach of the assessment review board. Council appointed an assessment review board made of a number of people from Southern Alberta at the last council meeting. That was inconsistent with the bylaw for the town's assessment review board. So if we were to hear an actual assessment appeal, we would not be following our own bylaws, which would leave us open for concern depending on which way that assessment went. We have to make sure that all of everything lines up appropriately. Mr. Orwa, would you like to add anything to that?
think you've covered almost everything there. Probably what I would just want to add to council is, if you look at those the recommendations we are putting forward, we are adding, of course, 5 and 6 just to follow up with what Mr. Amfel has talked about as per the MGA, where we have to, after appointing, then look at the term or years of service for the board, at the same time appoint the chair. So those are some of the things that we were missing, and to be consistent with the new bylaw that we're proposing.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Thames.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, that council gives first reading to the Assessment Review Board's bylaw 20-2019 at this meeting.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 5.2, fee bylaw 18 pardon me? Oh, I didn't see that. Oh, you're right. Sorry. Okay. All right. So you did do the first one?
I did the first.
Yes.
Need second and unanimous. Third.
Okay. Someone prepared to make the second motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you. I move that council give second reading to Assessment Review Board's bylaw 20-2019 at this meeting.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And the third requirement, Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll move that council unanimously agrees to proceed to third and final reading to Assessment Review Board bylaw 20-2019 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Someone prepared to make the third reading motion. Councillor Firth.
Thank you. I move that council gives third and final reading to Assessment Review Board's bylaw 20-2019 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the fifth required motion, Councillor Thames.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that council gives a term of 3 years to the appointed board members' term to expire December 31st, 2021.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And the sixth bylaw.
And Mr. Orwa, do you have a suggestion for the sixth item?
Yes, I do. After talking to the benchmark, I think they recommended, from the list that you have attached, they've recommended Tom Hudson to chair.
All right, thank you. Councillor Thames.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I move that council designates Tom Hudson as the chair of the Local Assessment Review Board for a term of 3 years, term to expire on December 31st, 2021.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 5.2, fee bylaw 18-2019. Mr. Arnfield.
Yes, this is the second and third reading of the fee bylaw that you have in front of you. There was the item of the removal of the $10 fee for the volunteers. Subsequent to that being removed, I believe we should be recommending that we pass this bylaw as amended at second and third reading. It's up to you if you would like more amendments, but that's the amendment that we were directed to complete.
Right. Thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move that council give second reading to fee bylaw 18-2019 as amended at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. And the third reading requirement, Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, I'll make the motion that council gives third, and we have an amendment on this, right?
Correct.
The third and final reading to the amended fee bylaw 18-2019 at this meeting.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6, action items 6.1, concession renovations. Mr. Arnfield.
Yeah, Ms. Phillips, please join us. This goes back to a motion, I believe, by Councillor Bruin at a standing item to direct administration to look at the investments required to update the concession at the Civic Center. We had done a little bit of work on this before. Please go ahead and Ms. Phillips and give us a presentation.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, council, members of council. So the major deficiency in the concession facility at the arena is the lack of a grill. But to address this installation of the grill, there are several changes that are required, not only to make the area more user-friendly, but also to bring it up to code. Once we get in there, there are several changes that would need to be addressed. There's a list in front of you there with some recommendations that came from building maintenance. This item was brought to council in closed session on September 11th, 2017, and no actions were taken at that time. So working with building maintenance, we came up with an estimate that renovations would cost, and I did give a bit of a range of 80 to 120,000, because it really depends on the level of renovations that is desired for that area. Currently, a budget of $80,000 is being proposed in the 2021 capital budget, and at this time, administration is requesting direction from council. Sorry.
All right. Any questions? Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through to Ms. Phillips. Are these things in dire need to be done?
Several of the items that once we start making major renovations to the area, there are several things that are not up to code. The flooring would need to be upgraded. We did upgrade some areas under the deep fry area, but the whole floor would need to be replaced. The shelves are wooden, so they're not wipeable. They'd need to be upgraded, or the recommendation is to upgrade to steel shelving so that they're wipeable. The counters, that part would need to be redone, partly because we're putting in the grill and we need to, just the way the layout of that concession to get the grill in there, there's very little space, so the recommendation is to remove the rounded corners, open it up more, give more space, possibly even put in a prep area. Right now there's no real room for prep. It's just not very user-friendly for a concession. So, and that's where the range of 80 to 120,000 comes in. Is, you know, if it was the lower end, we would see what we could do with that amount and come back with a recommendation of these are the items that are higher on the priority list. We could go all out and with 120 and make sure everything's done and done well. So, and as I said, I did put 80,000 at this point in the proposed capital budget for 21.
All right, thank you, Councillor Broom.
Thank you, Ms. Phillips, for this. I don't think a lot of people, I don't even know when the last time we did any renovations to the concession there. There isn't a working grill in there except for a tabletop one that they plug in or something. And
a stove, I believe that, or and a
it's
stove
a range.
is an industrial.
It's an old range
Yes.
stove.
Yeah.
And with all the new activity in the arena with the pickleball and field hockey in the summer, I think it's something we should really take a hard look at upgrading. A lot of wants people that use the place say there is nowhere to eat. When the Versette hockey school was on, they had nowhere they could really go. So lots of people were cooking in the parking lot and doing what they could. And I think we finally got a food truck over there for them. But if we had a concession there, we'd be able to serve that. And I think it's something we haven't looked at for a long time. And I think it's about time we made it a good place that someone wants to be able to work out of.
All right, Councillor Garrett, you have something to add there?
No, I toured that on Saturday, and it is in dire need of help. It's like going back into the 60s. So,
Okay, likely some 20 or 30 years since anything was upgraded.
I would think so.
Okay. All right, so that was designated for capital budget for 2020 then?
At this point, that's where we have
2021.
put it, yes.
2021?
2021,
Okay.
yes.
All right. So, Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm very concerned about this. Are we operating outside the fire code right now in that building?
I believe most of what we're doing falls under grandfathering, so I'd have to look more further into that to give a firm answer. I'd probably bring the fire chief in to take a look at the area. From what I was reading up on the old documentation that was brought forward in 2017, so I am relying on somebody else's research that we were grandfathered in, and the things that needed to be updated at that time had been taken care of. But any other major changes that were done, which is pretty typical to an area, you do need to bring everything up to the building code, fire code. All the different regulations. So,
Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As a follow-up, then, I'm very concerned. Like I said, And I think to wait till 2021 would not be responsible. I would strongly suggest that we put on a capital budget for 2020, Mr. Mayor. But there's no motion here.
Yes, I would tend to agree. That's what I was going to ask, if that's something we can look at for 2020. If it's that dire need, I guess it's probably a little more practical, Mr. Arnfelt.
Yes, and a couple of agenda items. Mr. Orwa will be back to present the capital items for 2020 to 2024. At that point, you can make any movement to that budget that you wish. That's why we're presenting it this evening, to get council's feedback on where particular items should be put.
All right. Any other comments on that, Councillor Bruin?
Mr. Mayor, though, are we asking for a motion now on this, or we just table it to further budget discussions?
We could have a motion on it, but it's coming up later, as Mr. Arnfelt said. But,
Yeah, I would suggest, with the information that council now has in hand, based on this request for decision, that you wait until the actual discussion for the capital budget, and then direct administration to put it into the capital budget. I imagine there'll be some more amendments to that capital budget coming out of that session.
Okay, very good. All on board with that. Okay. Anything else on that topic? Councillor Firth?
Mr. Mayor, I was just wondering, is the concession currently leased?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It's just, the hours are quite limited.
Right.
Right. Nothing further, and no motion required on this. We'll move on to item 6.2, Canadian Pacific Railway crossing repairs. Mr. Arnfelt.
Yes, and Mr. Scheer is going to come up and present on this item. There is plans to update the crossings, both at 50th and 51st Street. One is coming for free, and the other one has a price tag attached to it. But there are some options there, Mr. Scheer.
Thank you. Yes, as Mr. Arnfelt said, CP assessed both railway crossings, and actually 50th Street is in dire need of replacement, and they agreed to do that. And that is at their cost, because that is on a grid line system. That is the original road, whereas 51st Street is the town's crossing. They are the ones that recommended, we want this crossing there. That would be the same as it went behind the police station. That is the town's crossing. So they're Highway 36 and Highway 864, that's all CP Rail at 50th Street. So that's why the cost is associated to the town. As you can see by the agreement is all the town's cost. That was agreed to in 67, 68. So this crossing's been in there for over 50 years. First thing, when we found out about this, we started doing some traffic assessments. We did traffic counts, and in an 8-hour period, there was about 1,000 vehicles go through. So it is well used. Pedestrians use it. If we decided, and you could close it, that's another option. That would put more pressure on 50th Street, and we would say probably another 2,000 vehicles would go through there a day then. So you'd be looking over about 7,500 rather than 5,500. We actually like the idea of keeping it open because there would be a lot of pressure on 50th Street then. It is a good crossing. I mean, people use it every day. I know it's an expense we have to endure that just popped up, and CP does this now and then, but we'll leave it for your discussion.
Mr. Bruin.
Really, whatever the CP rail says, we just have to agree with. I think it's a good crossing, and I think we need it. But I think it'd be a great crossing if it went right through instead of having to turn. But that's Department of Transportation's deal. But it's something I think we definitely have to do. It's unexpected cost, of course, but we have to keep that crossing, in my opinion.
Mr. Towns.
I totally agree, because I think if you don't keep 51st open, this 50th is going to be really, really tough. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion.
Very good.
That council supports Canadian Pacific Railway in the projected repairs for both the 50th Street crossing at no cost to the town and at the 51st Street crossing for a cost of $133,607.10 with funds to come from the capital reserve.
All right. Thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not speaking opposed to the motion, but Mr. Scheer, if I may ask you, doesn't $133,000 sound like a lot of money?
Don't ask me. I'm not a railroad guy.
It makes no sense to
They
me.
gave a list of what they're doing and the cost of those lists, and how do they determine it is all up to them. I can't. We don't have any say in what's done or the cost of that.
Mr. Arnfelt.
Yeah, I have spoken with the community coordinator from CP Rail about this. Mike Lavecchio is the fellow's name. And so he's really the liaison between CP and all the municipalities that interacts with the CP line. And he has assured me that this is the price that they will incur in their engineering department to install the new crossing. They do this all the time, so I do not believe that they're padding this budget. I believe it is the appropriate cost, and I mean, it's their rail line. They do it all the time. He's assured me that it has not been padded, that this is their true cost.
All right, thank you, Councillor Becker.
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Armfeldt. But it seemed to me if we do both crossings simultaneously, aren't there cost efficiencies there? Then we could maybe cut her down a little bit. I don't know. I'm just an amateur at this, but it makes no sense to me. $130,000, you can build a house for that.
I did notice, though, Mr. Mayor, that the crossing that they have laying there prepared to do this work is by the CP, and they're finally putting in the proper concrete crossings that have been needed in this town since forever. So to see that they're putting the proper thing in is going to make our life a whole lot better, especially at this 50th Street crossing. It is so overdue.
All right. Anything else?
If I could,
Sure.
one thing we forgot to put in, I don't know if they will charge GST or not. So I put, if we could have an amendment of this cost is exclusive of GST in the motion.
So I have to reread my motion.
Just a friendly amendment. Actually,
Unless somebody will, you can't make friendly.
no, but it's that was just the suggestion. All right.
I'll accept it.
Okay, and you're good with that? All right. All right, friendly amended motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.3, 2020 to 2024 draft capital projects. Mr. Armfeldt.
Yes, and I'm going to turn this over to Mr. Orwa again to run you through the capital plan for 2020 to 2024.
Okay, Mr. Orwa.
Thank you again, members of council. So we do have 2021-2024 draft capital projects listing attached to the agenda there. But there are a few things that I would like to draw your attention to before maybe I call my colleagues to go through some of the projects. Now, you can, within that particular, I've highlighted in yellow the amendments for 2020 because 2020 had already been approved. So the ones highlighted in yellow, those are the new items on the list for 2020. And then secondly, I've also attached 2 items there. One of them is the contribution list from operating side, because each and every department has to contribute to capital on a yearly basis. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that one, I would like to tie the contribution from departments also with the reserves, so that probably when you're deliberating on which projects to pick, you should have that probably in mind and might help you with making some of the decisions. Now you can see the listing I'm talking about. If you go to the contribution to capital fund from operating, so this list here. So if you go to the bottom of it, so from operating side, there is 2.14 million being contributed towards capital. That is on a yearly basis. But now if you look at, for example, the listing of the capital projects listed this year for 2020, it's about 13 million. It's about 13 million. So they're contributing 2 million from operating, but the listing is 13 million. So if you take 2 million, we have 11 million. That is the reason why I'm bringing it up. Where do we get that 11 million? So that 11 million, for sure, will be coming from the reserves to offset. And if you don't get it from the reserves, the only other source would be either borrowing or money from grants. That's MSI, federal gas tax, and all those things. So probably as you go through the list, I just wanted to draw your attention where we are with the reserves and the contribution coming in from operations, So basically what I'm saying here is the yearly capital contributions that do not keep up with the projects done yearly. So you have to eat into your reserves. So that means that there is pressure to use more from reserves. And if you don't keep an eye there, we'll be depleting our reserves in the years to come. So I just wanted to bring that one out there as we move through the projects. And some of these projects, of course, the ones that are depending on the grants, definitely those ones might not even move forward as well. So that one also to be put into consideration. Now with that, we'll now go through the list. And the first, I think, on the list would be Public Works.
You can see we have a long list. The projects that were approved, the surface works mains, because this is an even year, so we do our lots of concrete work and an asphalt milling overlay program. Those are ones that happen every even years. 56th Avenue Road Extension, that's our 56th Avenue coming off of Wayland subdivision, all going to Highway 864, and the pathway crossing. For the arena, community center Aquafund parking lot, that we had originally had a price of $350,000. We just updated that price, and is now $500,000. We didn't get our pricing from MPE. We actually went to an asphalt contractor, McNally. That's the prices they gave us, so they're fairly reasonable. Then the community center to the curling parking lot, so another $625,000. So if you're looking at redoing the whole arena parking lot, you're looking at just over $1.1 million.
That's in front and
In front
all around.
and then back to the curling rink. First one is in front, from the Aquafund Center to just on the west side of the auditorium building there.
So that's the priority. You're going to start there, and
Well, that was the priority of the former council, but I mean, you could change that priority if you choose to do so.
like the curling rink area seems to almost be in the
It's
worst
gone,
shape.
yes.
And
Yes.
in front of the auditorium in the corner there. So I was just sorry.
It's a little bit better, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And then we move on to the Legion parking lot you've just acquired. It's about $90,000 to resurface that. And behind the administration building, this was another additional cost of $110,000. Within the Legion parking lot, we did look at putting some electrical in for plugins for the EMS parking, things like that. That's added into that cost. Like I said, the asphalt milling program, the Min building bathroom renovation, we discussed that and that was approved. Wastewater force main flushing vault, that has to do with flushing the pipes on the other side of the lagoons. The issue was we have 3 pipelines going down and we've had such a sludge buildup and there is bypass valves there. We just can't open them up because we're in contravention of our approval then. So that's where this vault comes in place. So we have some place to flush our pipelines and we can suck it up, take it to the lagoons. 62nd Avenue cast iron replacement. That's a much needed replacement. That replaces a water line that's badly pitted cast iron. It only last 50 years. It's been in the ground for probably 65, 70 already. Water meter replacement. We asked that council move this into the operating. Most of the residential areas, water meters have been replaced with the new ones now. So we're thinking this should be in the operating budget. And it gives us a better control of it. And really, the meters are anywhere from $500 to $1,200. So it's not really a capitalized item anymore. Commercial garbage truck, we already purchased that. We went through that. It's ordered. Multifamily bins, we order that continuously every year. Half-ton service truck, that truck replacements. I mean, we could push truck replacement off. That is up to council. But sooner you're down the road, you're going to be 5-10 years from now. You'll be buying 10, 12 of them. So it's up to you if you want to do 1 or 2 a year or a whole bunch in 5-10 years.
Mr. Broom?
Can I just ask a question? What are the ages of the trucks that we're replacing? The service truck seems fairly new. Is that
That's the facilities maintenance service truck. How old is that one, Lisa? Do you remember? 2009. So it's getting up there, and they drive it around every day. We just replaced the one just this year, so the other one falls in suit.
Okay.
We bought at the same time.
Okay.
Yep. We changed the toolcat to a skid steer because we can actually get a grader attachment for about a skid steer now. So we're better off. We can do the lanes. We can actually put a curve to our lanes now rather than using the road boss and just flat grading it. This way it'll keep the lanes water off the center of the lanes and actually have a bit of a curve for the water to go down.
All of our attachments will fit.
Oh yeah,
from
yes.
like the
There's only one
snowblower.
attachment that won't, and that's a snowblower. So you'd have to purchase a new snowblower for that. That costs about $8,000 if we choose to do so.
Yeah, 'cause I really like that snowblower.
Yeah. Well, we could add that, but this is a much bigger unit, and it's a much bigger snowblower than the toolcat. Okay, so it would have no problems doing all that. Hydraulic compactor attachment for the excavator. This is a packer we use to when we do services. The one we have right now is wore out. It's leaking hydraulic fluid, so it needs a replacement. It's a life cycle. Zero turn mower, that's a life cycle replacement. Our portable speed sign was vandalized. We put this in the budget. We didn't know council wanted to purchase another one or not.
Do we have insurance on that sign?
I think it was $5,500 and our deductible. How much is our deductible, John? $4,000? $4,000. So you're not gaining a lot. And then LED flashing. We actually, the traffic committee determined another LED flashing crosswalk sign on 50th Avenue at 53rd Street crossing goes to Cenotaph Park. Vehicles parked there all the time. You really can't see people crossing there. It's a hard crossing. So traffic committee recommended one of those. Do we want to carry on to the next years or do we want to go in years?
Reference.
If are we going to like say yay or nay to some of these items, or what are you asking from us here?
So this evening, I think if we get through the presentation of what each item is, and council has some discussion and can give us a little bit of feedback this evening, I think that's meeting the expectation. We certainly don't expect this capital plan to be passed this evening, anywhere close to that. This will be a conversation for the next 2 months, quite likely.
Thank you.
We've moved to 2021. We have 50th Street sanitary replacement. This is a big sanitary. This is a big replacement. The pipe isn't adequately sized. We are having trouble with the sagging within the large pipe. We're getting quite a lot of sludge coming out of it, so that whole line needs to be replaced. And that was designated through a sanitary master plan. And then it made sense to do 50th Street cast iron replacement because it's just down the road. So if we're going to rip up the road, we'll do it all. We added a transportation master plan because our last one is well over 20 years old. I think we need to know where we're going with our roads, what kind of standards we need to set, and that's part of the plan for that master plan. Some more cast iron replacement, 45th Avenue, which is the south side. We're finally getting over there. It's from 53rd Street to 55th Street, and that's a total replacement. Sanitary services, water, road, curbs, sidewalk, everything has to be replaced. And then a grader trade-in program, $350,000. Another dump truck that really just bringing out life cycle. The landfill loader, that's well needed. That loader's taken a lot of work on, so we need to replace that. The Schultz Trideck mower, that's the door mower we cut the ditches with each and every week, going in and out. That needs replacement. Another 3/4 ton. The reason this is 3/4 ton because we pull trailers with it, so we have to have the 3/4 ton. Wood chipper replacement. Wood chipper's getting older, and the collection carts again. And then the self-contained breathing apparatus. We've determined that our guys in a wastewater plant need to upgrade their self-contained breathing apparatuses to be safe, and make them in conjunction with the ones the fire department will be ordering in the future, so they're all the same, and everybody can grab any unit at any time. That's for 2021. 2022, an even year again. So we have our surface works and asphalt milling program. The West Water Supply Distribution, we discussed this. This is in your potable water master plan. This is the one the MD should be taking part of. It's a main looping that goes all around the west end that ties into Eureka. And it's a major component. I don't know if this one will ever fly, but we put it in. 52nd Avenue and 49th Street, 50 cast iron replacement again. Get that cast iron water line out of the ground. It's an expensive one again, 2.4 million, but it needs to be done. On 50th Avenue by the police station, 57th Street. If you notice this, the stop sign is farther back on the police station. The reason is because one side you have a bulb out, the other side you don't. So if we put the bulb out on the other side, then we can put the stop sign where it should be, and everybody can flow normally with the traffic. So there again, it's just to bring things into a bit of a cost analysis here. It does start adding up very expensive when you start doing little projects like this. Another residential side load garbage truck to replace the one we have. Commercial family bins. These are carts and the big bins too. Another half-ton. The service truck. The service truck is for facility maintenance again. That's the third one. They have three. Currently have three. They went in order. So they basically just replacing trucks. The snowblower attachment. This is the main one for our loader that we use in winter all the time. If that ever breaks down, now we're in trouble, so we put a new one in 2022. The multi-use tandem truck, this is a truck we can put a flatbed on. This is a truck we can put a small dump on, a water tank. So it's multi-uses. We don't necessarily need a big truck, and that's all this is about a 3-ton truck, a single axle, but it has many attachments that we could use. So we thought that would be a good use for a lot of different applications. And then the robots grader, we use that in many leveling exercises. Another snow push blade for loader attachment. Wintertime we use that, and a mower replacement. 2023, the Southeast Stormwater Management Facility. This is the big storm pond land purchase behind Walmart.
Mr. Sure, going to interrupt. Councillor Towns had something.
Sorry.
Back.
And that multi-use truck that you were talking about, that's just a hook and latch system truck with a hook on boxes.
Yes.
And at 130, that includes how many boxes, or is that just a truck and
No,
the hook
that's
system?
not just a truck. That was about 3 attachments.
3 attachments?
Yep.
And also in the stormwater, in the cast iron replacements, have we ever looked, can we line our cast iron with HDB, the new corrugated
We
wood
have
pipe?
looked at that, but the exterior is very pitted that it's gone beyond that now.
Cisco has just come out with a new corrugated pipe.
Yeah,
Have
we
you ever
looked at
se-
that.
Have you looked at? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. And it's just deteriorated so bad. I've had to, when I've relined other pipelines, and if the pipe is so bad, it's not strong enough, it won't hold up, and it ends up being oblong. So you have to have something to adhere to. Okay.
We started relining pipes just a few years ago, did we not? When you
But
first
that
came
practice
on.
has been going on for decades.
Yeah, because
but
when you first came on, we started.
we started relying sewer pipes.
Yeah.
But Councillor Tam's talking about water pipes.
Yeah.
That's a little bit newer.
Yeah.
And we haven't done one yet, but the cast iron it just needs to be replaced.
You'd have support for the
Yeah, you have support for that.
corrugated HDB
Yep.
pipe to work, but you have looked at it.
We-
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Okay, the Southeast Stormwater Management Facility, like I said, that's a big storm pond behind Walmart. That's the MD should be participating in that. We discussed that in our intermunicipal development plans. 56th Avenue cast iron replacement, just going through the lists. 56th Street sanitary replacement, 62nd Avenue, 64th Avenue. Another sanitary replacement, 54th Avenue to 48th Avenue. A lot of these projects we're just starting to back up, is what we're trying to do, what we're doing here, right? Rubber tire excavator, this is replacing the small excavator. There's life cycled out, another truck, service truck. There again, that one's for facility maintenance again. We had another one for facility maintenance?
Yes, there's 3 facility maintenance and 1 of those water.
Water, wastewater? Okay, sorry, I must have. And then another replacement flat deck trailer, extended arm moored. This is just a small moor attachment so we can get up to the sides of banks we can't get out to cut. As you can see, they've redone the ditch now on Highway 3. We can't get our big Schulte in there, so this little arm goes on the tractor and we can go up and down. Safer way of cutting. And we looked at a sewer camera system to go up and down our sanitary lines, storm lines. We've paid probably, since I've been here, about $300,000 to video everything. So we thought $75,000 we can maybe bring a little more of that in-house. So That's what that is for 2023. And then the collection carts and bins again in 2023. 2024, surface works, even year. We're doing your concrete replacement, asphalt replacement. This is the years we plan. We pushed back 64th Avenues east and west of 50th. Those prices will keep going up, 1.2, 1.1 million. New intake pump and pump station, I'm going to bring MPE. We'll have a presentation on that when we discuss. This is our raw water. We looked at a few options. This is probably the best option is getting a pipe farther into Chin, below the invert of the outfall of the outlet structure. So you'll always have raw water coming into your water treatment plant. You'll never have to go find it. So it'll be a deeper water. But that's one for the future. That's why I put it there. And then again, commercial bins, tandem dump truck, and then a new commercial garbage collection truck. Front end wheel loader, that's a replacement one in 2024. A half ton and a more replacement. Any questions?
Mr. Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Scheer, some of the replacement costs regarding vehicles, and are they $2019 or $2024?
We've added $2,000 or $3,000 on as we went up, yes.
Okay. Yep. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other questions arising? Councilor Brown?
How many lawnmowers do we buy a year? One every year, basically, don't we? During the cycle.
We haven't bought any for the last 2 years for public works.
Okay.
Last bought in 2017, but then we have a couple that they're just around 15 years old now.
Okay. Well, thank you. The other thing, our current snowblower we have mounted on the tractor. If we got a spare one now, did we replace that one, or what did we do? We upgraded something there?
Our big snowblower?
Yeah. We had trouble with it going down, then we had a rental.
No, we actually had, it was so much snow, we had a contractor come in that had one.
Okay, I thought we had troubles and we had to get a rental for a little bit.
The contractor.
Okay. Did we not discuss maybe buying or keeping the rental at one time, or?
We did, yes. And that's why I put another one in the future budget.
Okay. I was just reflecting back on that. I thought we discussed that.
Discussed, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Firth.
Mr. Mayor, is it more cost efficient to repave that entire Civic Center arena curling rink parking lot at the same time? Is that why that's being added in 2020?
I left that up to you guys because really it's the curling rink that area needs to be done. It's very, very bad. It's where you want to go with this facility. How much money do you want to put into this facility? It's really a council decision. So,
but is it more cost effective to do it all?
It's more cost effective to do it all
at the same time.
Especially if we're doing all the asphalt that year, we would get a better deal. Yes, you'd probably be at the 1.1. You'd probably be at $1 million or 950,000, something like that. Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Anything else? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Scheer.
Yeah, so there's a number. We'll go through each different department if council wishes through each of these, and the next is planning, please.
Good afternoon, Your Worship and members of council. So you don't often see planning up here for capital. So we have added in a vehicle for planning, estimated at $40,000, and the intention behind that is we get a lot of people who are coming to look at land or property or taking them for meetings, and we have them in our personal vehicles, and so it just looks a little bit better if we can actually have a town vehicle, plus then I don't have my staff having to take other people in their vehicle, worrying about insurance, those kinds of things. We can also use it for when we have to inspect or take on enforcement. So it just would be helpful to have planning actually have a vehicle for their purposes. And then we've included 3 here that are all related to the Eureka Industrial Subdivision phase, phase 3B. We've indicated option 2, which we've had a separate options that have come through. This is related to the area structure plan and the phasing that we set in there as we approved it. So then it also includes the 62nd Street extension as well as the 56th Street water main looping. So they're coming in at 3.295, 323,000 and 394,000. So we're at a point in Eureka where all of the service land has been sold, and anything that has road connections has been sold. So this will allow us to open up all along 62nd and down 56th and be able to sell that land as well, because we do still have some people coming in who are interested. So that is our goal with those being added to the capital program. And then for 2021...
Mr. Mayor.
Mr. Becker, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ms. Monks, we don't have a single service industrial lot left in that area?
We have a couple that are adjacent to Highway 36, or technically one. And then we have really where we just sold that last property on the south side of 62nd, and we have a development permit application coming in. That road kind of ends halfway through that property. And then the 5 acres that we sold earlier, the road kind of ends right at the edge of that. So while some of the servicing runs a little bit up into there, there's no roads and anything constructed in that area. So we'd have to put in the road network now to be able to access any of the stuff on the south side as well that could be subdivided now, but just isn't, you just don't have any access through there. So we need to come up 56th and across 62nd and open up all that land to the south as well as to the north.
For an addition, there are a couple of parcels in the original area of Eureka, around where the women's shelter is and in that area. So there are still a couple of lots to be sold in that existing area, but this would be for new lots being brought on in the north area of Eureka.
Sorry, my apologies. And then for 2021, refurbished old fire hall entrance, there is some consideration being given as to whether or not that would be an area to relocate planning to. So we've put that in as a placeholder depending on what happens in the administration building. Our affordable and alternative housing project, we had some numbers run by MPE as we were working on the area structure plan for that, or sorry, the outline plan for that area, and that estimate is coming in at 3.994.
May I add again that one is for an actual phase of residential development with planning to continue to construct phases of a legitimate neighborhood, so to speak. This is not contemplating just bringing on some lots for a manufactured home community. That would be a different price. So these are the conversations that we're hoping to have with council. Is this a direction that you would like to go, the $4 million development of an actual residential community out there as a phase one, or do we pare that back to a manufactured home community just off of 50th Street? So we're proposing to budget for the Cadillac, but that's not necessarily where we have to stick.
And further, as that project works itself out and we determine whether or not it will be deemed affordable housing, we can also look at partnerships and possible grant applications and other things like that. These are just strictly placeholder numbers to put so that we've got it in our budget and we're actually conscious that we're working forward to something, right? So the other one, it's labeled Tabor Christian High School servicing, so I would amend that just to have that as potential high school servicing, and that would be for the lands on the other side of 60th, sorry, yes, 50th, sorry, because we have some things that we could be looking at for potential development out there, and that again is something that we've just kind of flagged for potential development. Some of the other ones, again, to look at with affordable and alternative housing project is whether or not we partner with someone, and then the land sales themselves, right? So the lot sales will come back into the revenue as well when we move forward with that. So that's just what we're proposing for now, and planning doesn't have any in the other 22, 23, 24. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions arising there? All right, on to recreation.
So with the recreation capital budget, at this point in time, we are still waiting on the report from the rec master plan. They have, in August, they indicated we should have a draft report by early October. They have told me more recently that they are behind. So I've stressed that we are relying on this document and we were promised this document. So they are pushing to get the architects in to give us more information. So some of these capital items could potentially change depending on direction of council. So I didn't make any changes to 2020 at this point. We had the community center roof repair, Trout Pond Phase 3 has been in the budget. Some equipment replacement, which is all life cycle. Bleacher replacement. Sorry, I may have added the ice. I may have added the ice edger in there. I don't see that up there. I'm not. No, I didn't. Sorry. So I'm looking at my document and yours, which is slightly different. I moved that one into operating. So no big changes in that budget. At this point, there's also the small ice arena upgrade in there. And again, depending on direction from the rec master plan. So that's 2020.
I know we've had some discussion with some groups about a wheelchair upgrade there for the auditorium. Was that fall in this department?
Operating.
Yeah.
That was budgeted in operating, and I
Operating.
have made changes to that number as well.
Okay, thank you.
Yes. So for 21, we have, again, more equipment replacement. We are proposing a Toolcat, which is a larger piece of equipment, but it will replace several other pieces of equipment. And we're looking at trading in a mower, mini excavator, and potentially an ATV, which will offset the cost of that piece of equipment. That's where I have the ice edger. There it is. Trout Pond Phase 4. Right on floor scrubber. One thing that was brought forward by the rec board was to add the tot table that was proposed. There was a coffee with council early in the year. Someone had brought forward the idea of a tot table, so that was added to 2021.
I just asked a question about that one.
Yes.
I think there's been some misunderstanding with that here. That came up as a coffee with council item earlier this year, and I think that was looked to be added sooner than later. Am I right with that? With all understanding that same ask, and we'd talked about council discretionary fund to cover that. So, but 2021 just seems to be a long ways away for that $1,500, $2,000 item, or whatever it may be.
$35,000 item.
Yeah,
$35,000.
It's a little more.
What's okay.
I believe the number that was initially brought forward was the piece of equipment only. It didn't account for installation, water lines attaching to the controller, groundwork, or anything. So the estimate is $35,000 for that item, which is, I believe, why the rec board recommended 2021 at least to start.
Okay,
could
all
definitely
right.
be moved.
That changes things. I think we were told it was under a $2,000 bill, right?
Yeah, and that was just the price of this tot table till we did the homework and how the concrete and everything that we had to do to put it in. It became not just a $2,500 water table, it became a $35,000 plan. So rec board had suggested throw it on the capital further out to 2021.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Yeah.
Question about that.
Councillor Firth.
Is that the one that, so it supplies water on its own? It's not a freestanding one, is that correct?
Correct,
Okay.
yes. Yeah, so it would be plumbed in, you push a button, water comes out, fills tubs, and kids play in it. And yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And then this is where I had placed the concession upgrades at this point. So,
Okay.
So that was 21. In 22, again, Trout Pond Phase 5 was budgeted for 2022. Equipment replacement, again, life cycle. We've added a pool vacuum as well as part of our life cycle plan. I started budgeting playground enhancements as well. I didn't designate. I'm working on a life cycle plan for our playgrounds, identifying all the playgrounds in town where there could use some expansions or replacements. So that's more of a placeholder. And then pool locker replacements. And again, depending on direction from council after the rec master plan, the lockers are aging and need to be looked at to be replaced as well.
Thank you. Councillor Bruin.
Mr. Mayor, we just discussed that concession. I see you have it in 2021, but if we run into problems where a fire code or something comes up, that may have to be moved to 2020.
And I did speak with Chief Munshaw, and he had mentioned that we are grandfathered in. I don't know if you want to speak on that, Chief?
So right now you have a grandfather clause, but you're asked to not cook the certain items at facility, which is causing the larger issue and challenge for the cooks that are coming in. So in order for them to do that work and for them to move forward, they would have to make these changes.
So they can't cook hamburgers.
That's correct.
Just wanted to confirm that before verifying that that was still correct. So, yes. Yes.
All right.
And then, was there one more year?
Yep.
Or two?
There's two, yeah.
In 2023, it's equipment replacement and pool filter tank replacement. That was removed out of 2019 as an operating expense and moved into 2021. And here I've left it in the capital, so I'm a little inconsistent there. I may have to look at that one again. It was currently budgeted as operating, so I may remove that one. And then 2024. One of our larger trucks, the Dodge 3/4 ton. Sorry, I thought I had updated that number to 65,000. And then again, some other equipment that needs to be replaced, life cycle, playground installation, and the hot tub. Again, depending on direction from council on the rec master plan, the hot tub, we do have some issues with rebar in the wall and rust coming through into the hot tub on an annual basis. So recommending that we start looking at some bigger replacement items such as the hot tub. We also have an ozone system. We're looking at replacing that potentially with ozone, or there's other options on that one that we're looking into. And our Zamboni will be hitting life cycle around that time as well.
All right.
That's
Any questions arising? Good, thank you.
all right.
On to our IT department. Al, how you doing?
So for 2020, we have a couple projects. Our servers upgrade, that's a 4 years project. Every 4 years, we upgrade our email server, intranet, operation manager, system center. Usually there is a new version of these servers every 2 years. So we skip one version and upgrade to the next one. So you will see this project again in 2024. Annual hardware replacement, that's an annual project for IT. We replace about a third of our equipment. Everything is getting plugged into the wall. We replace that. Workstations, laptops, servers, storage device, firewalls, switches, power backups, printers, etc. Everything. We had a project for GIS in-house that's been canceled. We will continue with our current vendor. And we replaced it with a GPS tracking. So that's a demo for a project we would like to do to track our vehicles, track the location, speed. So we are estimating just for 8 vehicles for this year, and we will see how it goes from there.
Say this year?
8.
8.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I just ask, what is GIS?
GIS, Geographic Information System. So it's
Yeah, so the mapping technology that we use right now, we contract the services of the Oldman River Regional Services Commission to provide that mapping. That mapping, we were growing beyond the capability of that mapping. So we had contemplated actually creating our own in-house solution. The Oldman River Regional Services Commission, I guess, heard our message that we were considering upgrading our mapping, and they are subsequently upgrading their entire suite of product to the product that we would have upgraded in-house, and they're offering it to us at the same price. So they've gone through and upgraded their entire system because we were on the edge of leaving that organization for the contracted service, and so they have answered that call quite handily. The GPS tracking, the second one there, is currently the town has no way to quantify the usages of the fleet. So we don't necessarily know, other than what the employees tell us, whether the vehicles are turning a wheel or not. And so from a management perspective, coming to council to have council evaluate these life cycle changes to the fleet, we would like to introduce GPS software starting in 2020 into those vehicles, so we can actually start to quantify how much of this vehicle is being used. So then when directors come to council asking for new fleet vehicles, there's a substantiated claim that yes, this one has turned a lot of wheels and it's had a lot of maintenance and repair, and we are in need of acquiring another one. So that's something that we're proposing to go forward with in 2020, to actually start quantifying the use of the fleet vehicles.
Mr. Thames.
How many vehicles does the town currently plate?
Lisa? But just vehicles. I think that the answer was 130 mobile vehicles, but just trucks that we plate, I think, is probably the question.
I'm wondering, like, at 130 vehicles, if you're going to put GPS on all of them, and I understand the value of the GPS, but I'm I'm kind of wondering why, if we're going to start with 8, because I don't think we're going to ever get to where we get them all done at the same time. I think 8 might be a little bit shy.
So the process was to incorporate it going forward. Every new vehicle that we acquired would be spec'd with GPS capability in that vehicle. And then this is the other side of that then. This is the technology that allows us to track the usage of those vehicles. So going forward, we would just spec the trucks that the Parks and Rec and Public Works crews drive going forward.
Thank you.
Councilor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you for the update, Mr. Umfeld. I was kind of wondering when I was reading my agenda here, what does GSP mean? Because it says GSP, right?
Yeah, it's not George St. Pierre to those that might be MMA fighters, but yeah, sorry, GPS. Yeah.
All right, fair enough. Okay, thank you.
2021, we have Diamond Upgrade. That's our finance software. Another upgrade that we do for our finance, it's every 2 years. Again, we skip a version and we upgrade to the following version. This year we upgraded from 2016 to 2018, so the same thing will be happening in 2020. Jeep trade-in.
Finally. Okay,
the
thanks.
Jeep is model 2009, so it will be almost 12 years, and it's being used for public image, and probably better to replace it and get a newer vehicle. Cloud adoption. This is a project for our disaster recovery and business continuity. This project, basically, so we can have our systems on the cloud on standby. If we have a disaster, we can continue business without going down, especially with ransomware, malware attack nowadays, and to save us money from paying the bad guys, it's better to have a plan in place.
So we don't use cloud now? We don't use cloud storage, Joe?
Everything is in-house. This year we are having a project, and we're moving forward with it to have our backups only on the cloud. But again, if something happened, we still have to restore them in-house, and if something happened to the building, we still have to purchase new hardware and replace them. That might take us 2-3 weeks down.
Where is the cloud?
Sky.
Good question. They are on Ontario. Yes.
Secret.
HR information system. Right now, our HR department is the only department that still do paper and pen. Part of our master plan to have a system for HR so they can automate their process and computerize it. So we're proposing a project to have a system for our human resources. Annual hardware replacement, again, the annual replacement for third of our IT hardware.
Thank you.
2022. Fleet management system. So that's system to track maintenance, repairs, lifespan for our fleet. Depends on what we will do for the GPS tracking. That might change. We might be using the same software, or we might have to buy another software to do that. Business intelligence and analytics system. So recommended by our master plan in 2017 to have a business intelligence software to do better reporting for our management team so they can make better decisions. So proposed project for that. Annual hardware replacement. Again, our annual hardware replacement. Another system was proposed in the master plan to have a learning management. So we track our staff, their knowledge base, their certificates, and what they need to improve. 2023. Again, the next upgrade for our finance software every 2 years. Council chamber audio and video upgrade in 2023 that will be 5 years old. So I'm proposing that lifespan for these systems 5 years. So we start looking up for an upgrade. CAD system, our emergency service CAD system, proposing to have a disaster recovery location at our 911 backup center, the fire hall. So if something happened at the police station, our police dispatch can still do their business without no downtime. And of course, the every year project annual hardware replacement. 2024, servers upgrade, again, every 4 years, email, intranet, operation manager, system center. Another software proposed in the master plan, customer relationship management system, more for our finance team, so they track their information for our customers, our citizens, and annual hardware replacement as every year.
Great, thank you. Any questions arising? Great, thank you, Al. On to the fire department. Oh, did I miss? Sorry, I missed the police. But anyway, we got you here. We'll do this first.
I don't mind bumping out the head. Ladies and gentlemen, for 2020, we actually have no changes coming up. It's still the same thermal imaging camera that we talked about last year. It's the camera that goes into smoke-filled environments to look for casualty or victims inside the buildings. Main points are going to be up to 21. So we talked about vehicle replacement. We've extended our vehicles out 2 years from the original state, and that brings us up to a 21 change-out. And we did this the last vehicle, and it seemed to work very good. More expanded life expectancy. We did increase the numbers from last year's, but we were also able to take more equipment off this new vehicle and transfer it over. So that's why it's being maintained. 2022. 2022 brings up self-contained breathing apparatus, SCBA. Those are the apparatus that we use to breathe while we go into structures. WorkSafe puts us on a 15-year life expectancy, and that year it hits our life expectancy of 15 years. Post office, we have some flooring repairs that'll look like they'll be having it done in the main portion of actually the post office where the workers work in the back section, as well up front where the postal box area is in the new emergency services building. We're looking at 2022 for that purchase. 2023 is the next thermal imaging camera. It's an interesting thing. It's the same numbers that you see in 20, but we're bringing it up to 23. Technology is advancing, but so is the dollar coming down a little bit for the price of newer technology for the same types of units we're using. So we're seeing these coming down from about $25,000 to $10,000 now. So we're able to maintain that same dollar. That's why we're projecting out. So 2024 is coming up to extrication equipment. These are the jaws, spreaders, rams that we use to remove doors, windows, roofs in vehicles. They hit a life expectancy of about 15 years, and we're pushing that about this 24 year. We're actually pushing it out 1 year beyond. So those are our items. If any topics come up, please let
Thank you. Any questions? Good, thank you.
Thank you.
On to the police. Who's speaking to that?
Yes, Mr. Orwa can come up and just speak to the police. I don't believe Chief Abella is here this evening. He's obviously not here this evening, but this has gone to the police commission. Can you please share, Mr. Orwa?
Yes, I think for the police, although I'd requested Chief Abella to come, he must have been held up somewhere. But I think the projects listings you see for the police had already gone through the police commission.
I guess Councilor Byrne, and then you can add your end.
I can try to answer any questions you may have on it. We went through this fairly thoroughly, and these are going to be some needs that are coming up. So
the major item I can identify is the very bottom line in 2020 is the animal shelter increase in value. Currently, there's only $100,000 budgeted capital for the animal shelter. We know that budget will likely push closer to $200,000. And so that is the major consideration there to get our animal shelter constructed next year with another $100,000 addition.
Right. Thank you. We're good for all of those.
Yeah, it's unfortunate that Chief Abella is, I'm sure he's in an emergency situation, so and cut him some slack there. But this will be coming back to council at a future council meeting, and hopefully Chief Abella can join us that evening.
No questions arising for.
I suggest we just skip the
Sure. Okay. All right. We're on to cemetery.
Good afternoon, Council. This is a proposal for 2021 to finish Roque development on the south end. So we like to keep ahead of, planning for strategic movements in the cemetery, and so that is the last renovation on Roque North was done in 2014. So it is approximately the time to be considering finishing the other end of it in the south end. So. And that's proposed for 2021 for $85,000. The figures for that $85,000 were based on the 2014 figures. We could possibly do some cost savings if we did the concrete in-house as opposed to the last time it was contracted to Venture Holdings. So that's why that amount hasn't changed.
Thank you. Any questions? All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, that's got her covered, Mr. Armfield.
Yes, and I would pass the torch back then to council to have a conversation and provide us with any direction or ask us any questions based off of the information that you just heard.
So back to some of the conversation on an earlier discussed item related to the concession stand. We don't want to put something in for the 2020 budget in that regard. Councillor Becker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would highly recommend, I'll make a motion that we do the concession renovation in 2020 as opposed to 2021 out of the capital budget to an amount not to exceed $120,000.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Any other changes you'd like to discuss now or wait for a meeting going further down?
Oh, I believe, yeah, Mr. Scheer, I know what he's coming up for. There's there was one item that was dropped off the list. The trail on the south side.
Promise we bring this back for the council to accept on the 2020 budget. It was a cost of $9,500. I think that just put in my apologies, but there is that additional pathway replacement on the south end was $9,500.
That's the 39th Avenue one. To pave that whole...
No, not to pave it, just to replace it with the sandstone.
Oh.
And get a better grading.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, so that could be slated for a spring project then?
Yes, if you accepted it in the 2020 projects, yes.
Okay.
Or moved it to a different year, is up to
$9,500. All right, thank you. Councillor Town.
In that case, Mr. Mayor, I move that we make a motion that we include the South Trail on 39th Avenue for $9,500, you said? $9,500 in the 2020 capital budget.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. And are you requiring a motion to accept as presented, Mr. Armfield?
No, we can make those changes, Mr. Orwa, to the directions that we were given through motions, and then we will return this list to council at a subsequent meeting for further discussion.
All right, thank you. Councillor Beckering?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to just commend administration for presenting this capital budget for the 2024 years in a very timely manner. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. On to item 6.4, encroachment agreement, 5303 53rd Street. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, I believe this is one for Ms. Monks. Ben is going to come up.
Gary?
Right. Good afternoon, Your Worship, members of council. Administration has received an application for an encroachment agreement at 5303 53rd Street. This encroachment agreement is for a 3-foot-high fence that encroaches 4.9 meters into the town road allowance. And our encroachment policy does state that any encroachments into town-owned lands and roads must be brought forward to council for consideration if the encroachment is greater than 0.3 meters. This one is a little bit of an odd case, just because the road allowance is 30 meters wide at the north end of their property, but it's only 20 meters at the south end. So likely the homeowner did not realize they were building into the right-of-way, and you can see on the picture there. This encroachment was discovered by administration while we were completing a review for a compliance certificate. We let the homeowner know. They subsequently had their lawyers provide us with the encroachment agreement, and they've paid their applicable encroachment agreement fee. We circulated the encroachment agreement within administration, specifically with Fire and Public Works, and neither had any issues with the encroachment. So administration is recommending that council authorize the mayor and CAO to endorse the encroachment agreement.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Beckering?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a question. Was there any concerns raised by any of the neighbors on either side of the property?
Circulate it to neighbors, and so we did not receive any.
But have you received any complaints from anyone about the encroachment?
No, we have not.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Councillor Firth?
I just had a question. Is there a reason that the road allowance widens halfway through the block like that?
Figure out any reason for it.
Okay.
We couldn't, and you can see as it goes up, it impacts all of the neighboring properties. So if we were to not approve the encroachment, we would have that same situation with all of those landowners all the way up the street.
Just thought it was strange.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think possibly at one point it was determined we needed a 30-meter right of way through the intersection because there's some other, the laneway also does this. The laneway is also, maybe we were going to change the road standard or something historically, but.
Even the backyards are, yeah.
Yeah, it's a case of one standard transitioning to another standard in how large the lots were. Typically, you don't see that the lot line is to the back of the sidewalk. Usually the lot line is into the front lawn a ways. And so that's what's happening. You've transitioned from one era to the next era on the same block.
All right, so we're prepared to make a motion. Councillor Thames?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'm prepared to make a motion because I'm not going to go tear down a fence. That council authorizes the mayor and the CEO to endorse the encroachment agreement for 5303 53rd Street, Lot 3A, Block 2, Plan 9412343.
Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.5, Tabor Municipal Police Commissioner Report. Mr. Armfield.
Yes, we are into the report session of the council meeting. Again, if there's any questions that you have, as the Secretary of the Police Commission, I can endeavor to get those answered for you at a future council meeting.
All right, thank you. Any questions arising? Someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Beckering.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm prepared to make a motion then that council accepts the Tabor Municipal Police Commission report for information.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. On to item 6.6, department reports. I'll go through them one by one. If anybody has any questions, please stop me accordingly. Engineering and Public Works, Water and Wastewater, HR Activity Report, Recreation Department, Administrative Service Report, Finance Activity Report, Plan and Economic Development Report, Fire Department Report, and CAO Activity Report. Right. Someone prepared to make a motion. Councillor Garner.
Mr. Mayor, I can make that motion. The council accepts the department reports for information.
All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Thank you. Item 6.7, Mayor and Councillor reports. Councillor Garner.
Attended all necessary meetings that I was supposed to be at, and was heavily involved with Cornfest. I guess that's in the past now, but other than that, I've tried to attend council with coffee with council, and so far so good. That's my report.
Thank you. Councillor Bruin.
I attended all the necessary meetings I was obligated to attend. Highway 3, a couple meetings with them. There's quite a push forward with that, with a lot of support from municipalities and MLAs, and even some federal MPs getting involved with the need for twinning the highway. I attended for the Pride organization. I attended the annual general meeting of that, and few other years and theirs, but fairly busy month.
All right, thank you. Councillor Firth.
September was very busy. Attended all the regular meetings as well as Cornfest, which was extremely well done, as always. Also the Terry Fox Run at St. Pat's. The Communities in Bloom Best Yard Awards was a highlight, and also got to commend some employees for their long service here at the town. That's all I've got.
Thank you. Councillor Beckering.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Nothing earth-shaking to report. Extended some meetings. I should highlight perhaps that I attended the Tabor Exhibition Associating board meeting last week, of which I'm a member, and shared the news to the rest of the board regarding a possible new lease agreement with the exhibition board, and they were extremely happy with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Towns.
Mr. Mayor, nothing earth-shattering to report either, so I'm just going to leave it at that.
All right, thank you. And for me, also a very busy September. Highlights would include the Linden View 70th anniversary, Good Samaritans anniversary celebration, the Communities in Bloom event as well, Co-op Fuel Day for the Halo fundraising, the Town of Tabor Long Service Awards, as well as on the weekend the Junior High and High School Rodeo weekend that included some 300 plus participants. And that'll do it for me.
Linden View 770?
Linden View for Good Sam's, yes.
Oh, Good Sam's.
Yes. Thank you. And that'll do it for my report there. Somebody prepared to make a motion? Councillor Firth.
Thank you. I move that council accepts the mayor and councillor reports for information.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Carried unanimously. On to item 6.8, standing item council requests. Mr. Armfield.
This is the opportunity that council has to ask administration any questions or give us any direction through the form of a motion.
Right. Anything arising? I have one item that we had some discussion with myself, Councillor Bruin, Mr. Armfield as well, related to an ask about the Westview pond location, and to look into that possible aeration / fountain option for to reduce some of the I guess the odor, the potential odor issues that are around there as a result there, and or some enhancement of that pond area. Councillor Bruin, anything to add to that?
No, just we addressed some of the issues that they had out there and explained some of the reasons some of them were the way they were, and the aeration thing is a kind of a want list they would like. We do have the ability to flush that pond, so it's something we'll have to investigate which would be the better most practical way to proceed with that.
All right, so I think we'd be looking for a motion to investigate, have administration investigate that for some future possibilities as far as what can be done there. What's most practical?
I think I would be prepared to make a motion that we direct administration to look at the different options for containing the odor or managing the odor from the pond, and perhaps a letter out to the residents explaining the circumstances or answers to any questions they may have, if that would be in order.
All right, thank you, Mr. Armfield. Does that cover enough of what's your?
Can I maybe make a friendly amendment to your motion, Jack?
Please do.
Not, I think they need to have council or administration investigate and report back to council before we send any letters. I think we need to have an answer what we're going to do first.
That's where I was going to jump in, Mr. Mayor, that with the motion, there's two items in there. My recommendation would be to separate those two items. There's the matter of the odor at the pond and a technical fix, and then the matter of the information out. I would recommend that those two items come in the form of their own motions.
So just an ask, I think that the secondary motion could likely be dealt with after we have the recommendation then in another meeting.
Yeah, that's council's wish, is to have administration look into a particular technical fix and then share that information with the residents. I think that, the second part is best held until a presentation to council is made.
Mr. Bruin, are you comfortable with that?
You can strike the last part of my motion then and just deal with the technical issues.
All right. All right, thank you. Motion on the table. Any further discussion? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Any other standing agenda items come up? All right, we have nothing else outstanding, correct, Mr. Armfield?
No, there's some items in closed session, but that, in my understanding, concludes the open portion of the meeting.
Pardon me?
Media inquiries,
Oh,
yes, sir.
Sorry, you had one? Yeah. Okay, all right, yeah. Media inquiries, Taylor Times.
Just in regard to item 9.4 that was added to closed session, is there a subject for that, and is it what FOIP exception is it being discussed?
Section 17.
Okay. Just don't have a subject. Okay.
Motion to take 5 and move into closed session. Fair enough.
I move that we recess for 5 minutes and reopen in closed session.
Motion on the table. All in favor? Chair announced. Thank you.